The theme this year is called erosion. And you can kind of take that any which way, right, Nona?
Right, absolutely. And I appreciate those of you who have already submitted, who I'm looking at right now. And I'm encouraging everybody to make a submission.
Yeah. So you can think of erosion of marriage, erosion of relationships, erosion of jobs, erosion of attachments, erosion of peace of mind, you know, just kind of take the theme loosely.
How about the body?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Brain cells.
So check the WMC website for the rules. So Nona's the editor. You don't send them to me or Doug. You send them to the editor, and you are limited in words. It's 4,000, I think, isn't it, Nona?
Yes,
Maximum of 2 submissions.
correct. In any category.
In any category, correct. Okay, also it's dues renewal time. So present members, it's $45. And if you know someone that wants to join that's new, or if you've been coming and, oh, Amy the Queen, sorry, I had to glance down. She keeps changing her name. Anyway, if someone new or someone that's listening in and thinking about joining, it's $65 for the first year and then $45 thereafter. And you would, of course, this year probably have to mail in your check. And so that's P.O. Box 762 in Fort Bragg. So P.O. Box 762. And like I said, it's renewal time right now. And also just a reminder, so those of you that got onto Zoom today, of course you found the link. Doug sends out the link and the news or the registration information on the newsletter. So you will have to register each time. So, and we do that just to protect ourselves because there's been some horror stories. I'm sure you've heard them. You know, like the poor guy that was doing an interview and then someone kind of hacked in on a Zoom and, you know, they were drawing things, let's just say. So, you know, some crude drawings. So, let's see.
It wasn't me.
Our August 16th meeting will be again at 3 o'clock. So that's the 3rd Sunday of August. And our lecture will be by Sharon Yim Leos. And she's speaking on how to think like a developmental editor. So she says, today's editors prefer writing that is closer to a publishable state. So she's going to show you how to conduct your own developmental editing. So that should be a good one. And then today's program, it's going to include our ekphrasis exchange. So normally we, you know, do silly things and the artists come in with their kazoos and such. And we do have some artists joining us today. So Karen Reynolds. And so we're going to do that. This is our 9th year, I think, isn't it, Karen?
It is.
Yeah. So if you're not familiar with ekphrasis, it's artists interpreting artists. And so we have 10 writers that the artists interpret the writing however they want. So they sculpt or paint. And then we have 10 artists and the writers interpret their art piece. And so that's what, and we'll be doing a virtual show for our October 10th meeting. So the virtual show is actually going to open on the Artist Co-op website, August 1st. But for our October 1st, our October meeting, we'll be doing like we normally do. So we'll have the readings and then show the artwork behind or on the screen. And Karen, did you have anything else you wanted to add, or here, why don't you go over here?
Oh, that's yours.
No, I think you've covered it all. After we make the exchange and know what we're doing, then I'll be sending the art to the writers tomorrow, those of you who are expecting the art. And you're going to take care of the other
Yep,
direction.
I'll take care of it. So those of you that are, I'll send you, Karen, the writers, or I can send the artist the writing.
Good.
So, all right. So I guess we're gonna go ahead and start, and we're gonna start with the pulling the writers to interpret art. Correct, Karen?
Wait a minute, hold on.
Yes, you're going to give me the name of a writer, and I'll give you the number of the art that they will receive.
Okay.
A question.
Questions?
Since all of this is anonymous, why do we have to do it in front of all of us? All we are going to hear is numbers.
Well, that's a fine time to ask us that question.
Yeah.
Here I am.
Sorry. Well, I
With
want you to be here anyway. I was just thinking
keep us honest.
you and Catherine.
I think the object is to make sure that you realize that we're doing it randomly,
Exactly.
because you can witness that I'm not cheating on the numbers, except maybe for you, Norma.
Yeah, right.
And
Naughty.
I've got all the art responders here in a can, and so I'm going to start pulling names.
Hold on. Naughty wants a question.
I'm a
Yep.
little confused. I thought we were doing SmatchUp today.
We are.
First, we're doing the exchange, and then we're doing SmatchUp.
Okay,
So we're kind of merging our July meeting with our back to April meeting.
okay.
Oh, we'll make this really quick and painless. Don't
Yeah,
worry.
it will be quick. All right. So Priscilla Coleman,
Uh-oh.
Number 6.
6. Okay.
Then what do I do, Catherine?
What?
You
What
wait
do I do with the
patiently.
number?
So you don't have to do anything. She's
Okay.
going to send you the artwork tomorrow.
Okay.
Holly Tannen,
Number 2.
Doug Fortier,
We-
Number 4.
Sharon Leos,
Number 5.
Les Sizik,
Number 8.
Molly B.
Number 9.
Right down there. Okay. Sue Gibson,
Number 7.
Windflower,
Number 3.
Karen Uphoff,
Number 1.
Susan Fisher.
Number 10.
That should do it for that. Let me put numbers in, and then you'll give me names.
You recorded all those, right?
I did. So we'll do an email later. We won't have to do that here.
Okay. Okay, ready for the first name is Marianne Campbell.
Number 5,
Joseph Duvivier.
number 7,
Larry Wagner.
number 9,
Shanti Benoit.
number 10,
Lynn Whiting.
number 4,
Kathy Carl.
number 2,
Claire Fortier.
number 1,
Deborah Lennox.
Number 3.
That's it.
I have one left.
Oh, excuse me, Robert Gallen. We've got 2 more.
Oh, sure enough, 6.
And Lynn Zickerman Olson.
Zickerman, last number is 8.
Great. All these artists are pretty excited to get these writings.
Yay.
Great. And the writers are excited to get the artwork. So, and I'll be in touch with writer responders, and give you deadlines and all of that. So you'll hear from me.
Erlene,
Okay.
did you want to say something?
I was just a little confused. I think I've got it figured out what you just did. The
Okay.
people who were the initiators, the writers, were the numbers, and you just matched them with the artists. Yeah,
Exactly. Yeah.
I got it.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. So everyone ready to start SmatchUp?
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Okay. So we're going to start with the story, A Reason to Live. And the starter is Donald Shepard.
Ooh.
Can you hear me?
Yes?
I thought I was the starter.
Yep, but I'll call you when it's your turn, Joan.
Okie doke.
Okay. So we're
So,
starting with Donald Shepard.
am I supposed to read now?
You're supposed to read now.
Go to
And
the
hopefully
next
your
one.
finisher is here. Yes, your finisher is here. I see the finisher.
Well, I haven't got any idea what this is, where this is on the computer. So go to someone else and I'll find it. Maybe.
Okay, so I'll move down the
A reason
list.
to live.
So next we've got Alien at the Met, and the starter is Erlene Gleisner.
Oh,
Yay.
that's interesting. The title. Okay. Boras opened his eyes to bright light and his reflection bouncing off the mirrored walls of a small enclosed space. Searching, he saw no controls or buttons. His image was unfamiliar, lips clamped thinly beneath black-rimmed glasses on an exceedingly large nose under a spike of brown hair. Not my face, he said in confusion. He dropped his eyes to his feet like they tell you to do in lucid dreaming. Definitely my feet, he said as he saw his scruffy Nike tennis shoes extending from beneath pressed blue polyester slacks. What's the deal? I never wear slacks, only jeans. He felt a thin folder clasped under his right arm. To understand his surroundings, he began to read the pages he found inside. Reports of incident 192 concerning Boras Studlight, BS. Icy prickles fountained up his spine. That's my name. But how can I be reported for an incident I know nothing about? I don't even know where I am. He read further for clues. Said person has shown inability to contain emotions and thoughts. Inasmuch as BS can focus on technological processes, he still has limited personal brain-to-mouth filtering capacity and more. Well, at least I know technology. He scanned the corners and surfaces of his current space. No apparent cameras or listening devices were visible. Nothing but mirrors. Nice for a bedroom, he said, then gasped while the room shuddered as if it had come to a stop. He read more. Recent occurrence of transformer malfunction on BS's reconfiguration machine registered high enough on the frequency scale to cause digital and mechanical devices in building 3093 to spark to dangerous levels. Robotic programs were skewed, exposing implanted service providers encoded to report aberrant personal activities of staff. Am I in trouble? Boras said to the room, trembling as a fear in his mind circuited under his skin. He fought to steady his fluttering heart and sucked in oxygen for his numbing brain. Steam rose from the papers he held in front of him. A flame erupted from their surface. He held his breath, then released it to consciously and rhythmically regain control of his emotions. The flame reduced. He centered into calmness as behind him the sound of metal scraping open made him turn to see his reflection shift away. He faced a cavern of darkness.
Okay, and our finisher is Priscilla Coleman.
Woo-hoo.
See if I
So
can,
you have to unmute yourself.
well,
Or,
and I'm trying to do it myself, but
okay.
I can't do it, Chris. I don't know what's going, there it is.
Okay,
Go
here we
ahead.
are.
Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah.
He faced a cavern of darkness. It may have been a minute, an hour, forever. And then the spotlights found him. He was in a dream on another planet. The shouts of bravo assailed him. Bouquets of flowers struck him. The audience was on its feet, shouting, stomping on the floor. His countertenor voice had been clear and high. He was proud of his performance. The steam and flames behind him on the set hissed and rumbled. He marveled at the way the Met's designers had worked on the details to resemble a spaceship. He couldn't recall which planet he had come from. It was long ago and far away. The opera conductor jumps onto the stage to shake his hand, to embrace him. Boris removes his wig and glasses. His co-star, the soprano, runs onto the stage and kisses him. This is the climax to his lifelong dream of singing at the Met. The mirrors now show him as he really is. Blonde, wavy hair, blue eyes, and snub nose. Only the pressed trousers and Nike tennis shoes remain as proof of who he had been for the past 3 hours. Was he really Boris, the terrible, the alien of the Met? Or was he Stanley, the simple accountant of Brooklyn, who wanted a dream to come true? Bravo, Boris, the crowd roars. He knows who he is.
Thank you.
Yes.
I forgot to mention that this year's SmatchUp theme is What Am I Doing Here? So Donald, did you figure out what you were doing there?
Tell me what my piece begins with.
I have no clue. It's not in front of me.
See, I don't remember writing anything called A Reason to Live.
Oh, you didn't. The finisher finished it,
Entitled it.
entitled it.
Sharon,
Oh, Sharon.
Sharon can tell you. Sharon is your finisher.
Okay, let's see. Get her unmuted. Unmute. There. Oh,
Yep.
come on. Can you do it, Sharon?
Yes. Jonathan sat on a rustic bench overlooking
oh,
Point.
wait a minute. That's stuff you wrote.
Yes. So she's the finisher.
To begin with.
You could have given it a title other than what she gave. So
Exactly.
it's a mystery.
What am I doing here? Starter number 9.
What I'm asking Sharon is, what does my piece begin with?
Exactly.
You have, what am I doing here? Starter number 9. And then it says, Jonathan sat on a rustic bench
Oh.
overlooking Point Beach and watched a redneck.
Sorry.
Okay, I'm going to move down, Donald, and we'll give you some more time to look, okay?
Any more time?
Okay.
You
So
know,
Nick-
I was just gonna share something. If he has trouble finding it, is sometimes I'll just go to my sent, what I sent, you know, back then.
Yeah,
like
you can
April.
look from the email you sent me, Donald.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks, Robin. Okay, so we're going to move on. The next is called Chick Lit. Starter Naughty Bumbo.
And you can unmute yourself, Nadi. Good.
Okay, well, that's an interesting name. In a world chock full of mad scientists, few ever reach the pinnacles of madness achieved by Orpington Barnevelder. His was a lifelong pursuit of the means by which two brains could change place. Well, bodies to be precise. Jeered and insulted at every scientific symposium, he was never deterred from his quest. He would show them all the folly of maligning his brilliance if it took him his entire life. He did not have to wait that long, however. On a typical day, usually filled with one failure after another, Barnevelder decided his machine needed more power, reasoning that the transfer of minds needs a swift kick if it were to ever happen. He placed his two chicken test subjects into the opposing chambers. Parentheses, he reasoned, considering the numbers of test subjects he had actually fried in his quest for fame, he might as well get a dinner out of his failures. Mm-hmm. Sadly, in his zeal to prove that more power was indeed the right choice, he made a most serious mistake. As he turned to place the second chicken, parentheses, her name was Hetty for accuracy's sake, where did I go? He lost his grip on the hen. As she felt herself being released, she made a quick decision and jumped over his head, landing on his back where her clawed feet pierced his thin shirt and made her escape out the window. This instigated a face-first fall by Barnevelder, and as he collapsed into the chamber, the door jerked closed and he found himself locked inside. The locking mechanism, unfortunately, was the signal to the equipment to start the process. Before he could override the door, everything happened exactly as Barnevelder had predicted. His mind transferred into the brain of the chicken, and the power was indeed the key. When the transfer had completed, the power shut off and the locks on both doors released. Barnevelder's body stood up, confused by the view from so far above the ground. The chicken, with Barnevelder's mind now running the feathers, stood blinking in the other chamber. And then, as awareness dawned on him, well, her, parentheses, her name, again for accuracy, was Mabel. She began to scream, well, squawk, because despite having the brain of a genius, her vocal cords, as such, had a very limited range and essentially no vocabulary to speak of. The mind of Mabel, now occupying a human male body, took a bit longer to find words about her new situation. Despite having a brain with limited options for speech, her new body could process even basic avian thoughts into actual words. And her first words, while inelegant, were perfectly appropriate under the strange circumstances she now experienced. Holy shit pickles. Paused, slowly turning in the chamber until she was facing the door, which had opened of its own accord. She took a step outside the chamber, looking around the room. Her eyes fell on her former body in the other chamber, where it was squawking with rage. As she had never actually seen her own body before, confusion merely increased because the noises coming out of the chicken, Mabel that is, made perfect sense to her. But he had heard many words before, and somehow she or he began to use them, if haltingly. What am I doing here? At the sound of this question, Barnevelder was as shocked as Mabel.
And the finisher is Malcolm McDonald. You have to unmute yourself.
It didn't work.
There you go.
Here we go. William Faulkfeathers pushed the script and a bottle of Old Crow across the desk to F. Scott Fitzbantam before muttering, "What's this cross-species drivel? No self-respecting chicken audience will pay to watch this." Fitzbantam tipped the bottle to his scarred beak. "It's not science. It's not fiction. Fantasy," Faulkfeathers clucked. "What next? Crossing a fly and a chicken? What chuckle pluckmeisters would you cast in that?" "F it," F. Scott said. "I can't write this poultry poo." Faulkfeathers nodded. "Let's go somewhere and get fouled." The pair wobbled their way all the way through Metro Golden Egg Layer Studio. They flagged a yellow yoke cab to the seedier side of the coast, where the Leghorn driver dropped them off on the wrong side of the highway. So they slipped him a cracked shell gratuity. They paused while silver penciled YN dots whirred by. Maybe we could try Chick Lit, Falk Feathers said. But he could see F. Scott was once again entranced by the green light at the end of the pier across the way. It's just another watering hole, old friend. A bar, a saloon. Falk Feathers placed a withered wing around his companion's back. F. Scott gazed wistfully up and down the highway. Why do we cross the road? Falk Feathers pointed his other wing at the distant flickering light. It's an age-old query, pal. F. Scott smiled, and they set off with renewed spry steps in their skinny legs. As the green light beckoned them ever closer, they cackled in tandem. Cock-a-doodle-doo!
Just a little update. The name Orpington Barnevelder is made up of the names of two different kinds of chickens.
What are they?
Orpington Reds, I think, and I forget what the Barnevelders are, but they're
That's
actual
funny.
names of types of.
That's great.
Great. Any luck, Donald?
Oh, you're gonna have to give up on me. Just have Sharon read the end. I have no recollection of this at all.
Sharon, do you want to read the whole thing? Are you up for it?
Kind of a lot. I think I get tired by it.
Donald, you could search by the date.
What'd you say, Amy?
He said he could search his system by the date. It was due in February originally, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I've looked in several places and I can't find it. So I don't have any recollection of writing about Jonathan.
It's about an old guy who's lost his wife and he goes to the beach.
Oh,
after she
yeah.
died.
Yeah. I remember. Now I remember.
We'll come back to you again. Hang in there. Okay, next we've got Gotcha, starter Leslie Wahlquist.
Interesting title to my piece. I have to sit up here. Sandra is lying on a flagstone deck by the mineral pool with a turquoise beach towel draped across her middle and nothing else. Her head's propped on a striped coat bag. Her chin rests on her chest. Huge sunglasses hide most of her face, and a hat with a brim like a string of revolving tsunamis shades her freckled shoulders. We first met at a new moms group 38 years ago, but lost touch until 20 years later when I went back to teaching calculus at the high school and she took a job driving the school bus. It didn't take long for us to cement a friendship. Yesterday at her house, she showed me the hat. Do you have anything like it? And also, you'll want dark shades for looking around discriminately. I was pretty sure she meant discreetly, but I got the picture. I have a version of those shades, I said, but nobody has a hat like that except you. Well, bring what you have. Her dazzling green eyes shone lovely and wicked. We're gonna have us some fun. I'm sitting next to her now in a low chaise, enjoying the combination of wafting sulfur steam, warm sun, and the Chardonnay we drank at lunch. The paraphernalia she suggested is on my head, and she was right. I can gaze incognito wherever I please. Right now, I can't tell if Sandra is sleeping or peeping. Hey, I nudge her toes with my toes. 4 o'clock. I noticed the young man whose birthday suit we admired earlier is standing at the gate. She banks her head like a stealth bomber and the corners of her lips rise up. She's awake. Hands on hips, He's searching the pool area, giving us plenty of time to devour his splendid form. Damn, I wish I had my bifocals, I whisper, spinning off the chaise to drop beside her. The towel slides off my chest, but who cares? I've discovered I'm invisible at this point in life. There are definite perks to this, but glancing down, I'm reminded my breasts are not among them. Does Ed know you come here? Sandra's husband is away on a fishing trip, and I can't imagine him at a clothing optional resort. No way. Did you tell your grandkids you were coming? Touché. Our Adonis is on the move. His most likely trajectory brings him just inches away. The man is a made-to-order fantasy. Skin the color of an expertly roasted marshmallow. Enjoyed quickly lest it melt right off the stick. He's ripened by experience, but still vulnerable. He laughs at every witty thing I say, and he's probably certified in deep tissue massage. His morning breath is like sweet butter warmed by the sun. Disguised by our sunglasses, our gender, and our age, beyond suspicion, we watch the polished marble of his bottom pass by and make its way toward the deep end of the pool. He's going to use the diving board, she breathes, swiveling her head a few degrees south. When I reach for my water bottle, trying to twist nonchalantly for a better view, I happen to glimpse back toward the saunas. Oh my God, I croak. I know, he's gorgeous. Her vocal cords are gummed up with lust. No, not him. I bump her with my elbow and point. Look over there, look.
Oh.
And finisher is Norma Watkins. So you have to mute yourself, Norma. Yep, it's still muted. Doug, can you unmute her? You're still muted. We still can't hear you. I don't think I can, no, I don't think I have host, yeah, I can't unmute you.
So I don't know why it's not working. Norma, we can't, we don't read lips, Norma, sorry, it's.
Yeah, we're trying. Put it on chat, Norma. Can you chat it?
No, what?
No,
Oh,
no,
no,
I mean
what she's
her
trying to say.
question. Yeah, I don't know what you're trying to say. Nothing.
Jeez.
She could call in.
Well, that's the only option here. Or,
Tell her where the button is.
well, she should know where the button is.
Yeah, she's on her computer, but
And
I think she has a Mac. I don't know the Macs.
Tell her
It
it's
doesn't-
up in the corner.
It doesn't matter. Norma, you can move your lips all you want. It doesn't make any difference. It's very sad.
It says, you
Bottom
can-
left for a Macintosh, bottom left.
Well,
On
of
mine.
what? Yeah.
It's on Mac and it's a top.
Okay.
So on the Mac, it's top.
Right at the top corner.
Of the screen of your individual image, it's upper right corner. Or
That's on an iPad.
It also says that you can push the spacer bar down and it will temporarily unmute you, so she can.
Oh,
push
so
the
she might
spacer
just
bar
have, yeah, okay, temporarily. So maybe hold it down,
yes.
hold the space there.
Yeah,
Then
it works.
hold the space bar down.
Hold the
You have to
space
hold
bar
the
down.
space, hold the space bar down.
I'm on a Mac,
Ah, that
and
works.
holding the space bar down did not unmute me.
Okay, can you hear?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. It ended, rather
She did it.
eerily with who, but Sandra says, who is it? Angela didn't answer. She was too busy getting flat, trying to make herself disappear under the towel. Get down, she said. Sandra tried, but she wasn't as skinny as Angela, and the sweaty towel refused to slide on the concrete. She tilted the large hat over her face instead. Now blind, she hissed at Angela. Who was it? Didn't you see? It's Ed. My Ed? In the dangling flesh. Sandra tilted the hat up enough to see. Shit. From under the towel, Angela said, what's he doing? Sandra hissed. He's with his secretary, that slut. And are they both? Of course they are. He's sucking in his gut so hard his face has turned purple. She's got one of those Brazilian wax jobs. What color? Don't be coarse, Angela. It's dyed red to match her extensions. I want to see. Don't move. They haven't spotted us. The asshole is using my picnic basket. They're headed for the lake. When they get far enough away, we'll skedaddle. Aren't you going to confront him? Not until I talk to my lawyer. Angela heard a series of clicks. What are you doing? Getting pictures. Madam, an official male voice. Photographs are not allowed here at Freedom Acres. Go fry yourself, Sandra said. Angie, get up. We're out of here. Angela tried to rise while keeping the towel around both her sweaty behind and her bosoms. I insist that you delete those. The big voice came from a small man in flip-flops. Step out of the way, buddy. Angie watched in admiration as Sandra gave the man a hip shove that sent him sideways. In here, Sandra said. They darted through the dressing room, grabbing their clothes and headed for the car. Sandra screeched out of the parking lot. That skunk, that lowlife, that pissant excuse for a man. Windows down, wind drying the sweat, Angie felt exhilarated. We're like Thelma and Louise, except we're driving naked. Sandra gave her a grim smile, and we're not the ones going over a cliff.
That was great. How are you doing, Donald? Are you ready?
Got it. I got it.
Yay. Okay, A Reason to Live, starter Donald Shepard, and we know that Sharon Bowers is finishing.
Jonathan sat on a rustic bench overlooking Point Beach and watched a redneck phalarope whirling in the waves. His mind slowed until he lost focus. After 4 hours of driving winding roads, he calmed with the stillness, the repetitive swashing of waves grinding sand up the beach. Something else had changed since he left the Central Valley dust and exhaust fumes. Here, thousands of waves scrubbed clean the onshore breeze. A peace washed over him for the first time since his wife uttered the word leukemia to him. The doctor says it's treatable and I feel fine. Both lies. Was that 3 months ago, 6, or longer? He knew not. After the formalities, the paperwork of death, and after the wake, he headed for the coast. Wake, he thought. Why wake? Like the wake of a ship, the last sign of its existence before the waves of time cover the memory of its passing. He sat on the bench watching the sun dip nearer the horizon. A grey whale blew a bush-like spout, creating a rainbow around it, which immediately left. As ephemeral as life, what am I doing here? A white-haired woman sat beside him and stared at the ocean, lost in her own thoughts. She wore a bright yellow frock, soiled white opera gloves, and a fuchsia fascinator. Her hair billowed over her shoulders in the updraft from the bluff. Smiling, she said, when anxious, uneasy, and bad thoughts come, I go to the sea, and the sea drowns them out with its great wide sounds, cleanses me with its noise, and imposes a rhythm upon everything in me that is bewildered and confused. Raina Maria Rilke, he said, and noticed goosebumps on her upper arms. Yes, but I can no longer remember the name of the poem. That is from his letters, if I'm mistaken. He peered into his face. Why, thank you, kind sir. Would you like to sleep with me tonight? We can read poetry together. He sighed. If only you had asked me 50 years ago, but alas, we are too late. She wept silent tears which ran down the smoke-induced wrinkles of her face. He wondered how to extricate himself, leaving them both with a little dignity. His wife had vowed to grow old gracefully with him. In honor of his beloved, he could not leave this charming and perhaps senile person alone on the headlands. Still, what could he say? The sea continued its shush-shush of waves scouring the beach, sat side by side within the sounds of ocean, gulls, and black oyster catchers falling below them. A raven barely cleared their heads as it sailed along the cliff on rising air. Jonathan saw a tweedy figure puff along the trail towards them, calling, Sarah Gertrude, your dinner is ready. Sarah Gertrude. Jonathan waved, gesturing the tweedy figure to the bench. The man slowed, and Jonathan glanced at the woman for a sign of recognition. He saw none. She moved closer to him as the tweed-clad man struggled nearer. The waves set the rhythm for Jonathan to recite from The City by the Sea by Edgar Allan Poe. Lo, death has reared himself a throne in a strange city, lying alone, far down within the dim west, where the good and the bad and the worst and the best have gone to their eternal rest. That's it.
And the finisher is Sharon Bowers. So Sharon, you're muted. There you go.
That ingrate doesn't know what he's missing. I don't offer bed privileges to any gloomy coot I meet on the beach. Look at his conceited expression. The fool thinks I'm crying over him. Sad, really. Men are so egotistical. Why do I even bother? My life would have been so much easier if I had accepted Connie's offer of everlasting love and adventure. But no, my darn hormones wanted a fucking dick. Wish Connie were here now. What a free love skank she turned out to be after I rejected her proposal. Wonder if she would still have the hots for old dilapidated me. Oh, what a stupid question. My nephew dresses me like a deranged opera goer, and I haven't the energy to oppose him. Charles means well, but he has no style sense. I drive him crazy by ignoring him. Like now, with this constant screaming of my name. The gentleman beside me is clearly rattled, but I keep my cool, pretending I haven't a clue of my own friggin' name. Connie proposed in this exact spot. In high school, we'd come to this beach to smoke cigarettes she stole from her dad and watch the sunset. We were inseparable back then. God, she lived fearlessly. Now I trip down memory lane without her. The guy next to me looks like he's on a tragic trip of his own. Too bad we can't do it together in my big cozy bed. I even have a bedside fridge stocked with white wine, which comes in quite handy when reminiscing. Oh, good grief. Here comes Charles in his Wuthering Heights getup. He dresses like he's Heathcliff on the foggy moors of England. Though he made roast chicken and dark chocolate pudding for tonight's dinner, so I better acknowledge the dear boy's existence. His pudding alone is a reason to live.
Thank you. So next we've got Midsummer's Eve. Starter is Joan Hansen. So Joan, we have to unmute you. Do you know how to unmute? There you go.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. She sat in the sand with her chin resting on her knees, her long raven black hair covering her face. I strolled by barefoot on my evening walk on the beach.
Whoop, you muted again.
Oh, sorry. That was me. What am I doing?
There you go. Okay. Oh, she's muted again.
Okay. Well, Joan, you do it. I won't touch it.
Okay, I did it.
Yay.
Okay.
Sorry. No.
All right. I strolled by barefoot on my evening walk on the beach. She reached up, pushed her hair back, and looked at me. Her face was tear-stained. Her eyes were red and puffy. The look of pain and sadness in her eyes touched my heart. The sandpiper scurrying to and fro with the rhythm of the waves were the only activity on the beach that evening. I continued my solitary walk along the ocean while my inner voice repeatedly nagged me. This is none of your concern. Mind your own business. The sun, now a great luminescent white ball surrounded by radiant orange streaks, had moved low on the horizon, a breathtaking work of art by nature. There in the distant waves, I saw a seal's head pop up and look at me. I watched it dive down, pop up wet and shiny, and look at me again. This phenomenon happens often on my walks. A seal frequently follows in my direction when I walk the beach, with its black eyes staring curiously at me. I turned and began walking back to the hotel. She had not wandered away. She sat gazing at the sunset. What sad, dark brown eyes she had. Now my inner voice spoke to me again in a compassionate voice. I walked straight to her side and sat down beside her. She became startled and turned her head from me. I spoke so gently to her. Is there anything I can do? Are you in trouble? She ignored my questions as I watched her body tense. I felt her fear. Why was this young woman so fearful? An hour passed as I sat quietly by her side. The evening fog rolled in, bringing a damp chill and a fishy ocean scent. An early crescent moon rising in the distant darkening sky offered no light on the beach. I stood and removed my warm sweater, and as I wrapped it around her shoulders, I whispered, I have to leave now. I wish I knew your name.
Okay, and finisher is Amy McGee.
Ginger, a man's voice called from the waves. I turned. Where the fuck did he come from? He walked from the sea, stripping out of his wetsuit, dark in the slight moonlight. For real, where did he come from? I looked around thinking I would see a group or a kayak maybe, but nothing, no gear, just the girl, Ginger, next to me. Sorry, the sun's in my eyes. She sucked a long breath in and let it out with a deep sigh. The man, bare-chested but still waist-deep in the water, lifted his shoulders and held his hands out as if asking, what gives? I can't find it, she shouted, shaking her head, younger than I'd realized. It's your fault, Roan. You said it would be fine if I left it. I can feel it's almost time. I'm going to be stuck here. She buried her head in her knees. The man wiggled himself out of his kit, and to my surprise was, commando. It wasn't dark enough to hide that. Hello, I waved my hand at him, trying to avert my eyes, thinking, who strips out of their wetsuit in plain sight? Please put your suit back on. This is a public beach. I felt the age part of my middle age as I said it. Who are you? The man growled, flipping water from his hair. He hopped slightly, kicking his feet from the suit. Definitely not that dark out. Be nice. Ginger stood, and as her long hair settled, I was shocked to find that her bathing suit was also missing. Jesus! I snagged my sweater before it hit the sand and tried to cover her exposed essentials. Tell me the minute. The man was next to me so fast that I jumped and let out an unflattering yelp. then squinted at him. Pardon? Oh, sorry. Tell me the minute, he shouted. What does that mean? The minute, what minute is it? He jiggled me and himself at the same time. I don't know, 8:35, 8:40, I said, shaking my head. Almost sunset? 6 minutes, the man shouted to Ginger, who'd slipped away during the jiggling. The dripping suit slung over his shoulder looked like fur, not neoprene. Found it! Ginger stepped from behind a small gathering of rocks, shaking something shimmery, also like fur, then slinked it up her legs. She hopped along the beach toward the water, awkwardly pulling the suit as she went. The man jogged after her, his full moon shining in the dark. He skipped slightly and yanked his suit back on in one move with a freakish ease I'd never seen. For a moment, I thought they were flopping in the water instead of running. Must have been a trick of the missing moonlight. You can't swim now, I yelled with actual terror. Jaws! But they ignored me. Youth, I thought, as I walked up the beach to my hotel. I turned one last time to the sea and scanning the horizon found them nowhere. Only 2 seal heads bobbing in the surf, watching me.
Good.
Thank you. So next we've got Parenting is an Art Best Learned. Starter, Nona Smith. So you'll have to unmute yourself, Nona.
That's
Okay. All right. The man behind the desk stands when I enter the room, making a show of deference. Not for 1 second do I buy it. I'm here at his behest, not the other way around. Good morning, he says in honeyed tones. Maybe for him it is, but not for me. Come in. He smiles a toothy grin. Have a seat. He sits and gestures at twin armchairs across from him. I'm getting a spider and fly feeling in my gut. With mincing steps, I move across the plush carpet towards him while scanning the room for possible escape routes. The ceilings are high, the crown molding wide. Shelves crowded with books line the walls. It's an elegant room, somebody's library or study. Gauzy curtains billow at the windows and catch my eye. The windows are open, but just barely. Could I possibly dash across the room, fling one wide open, and jump out before he subdues me? Not likely. Besides, I have no money and no shoes. I'm standing close enough to the man now to notice the flakes of dandruff on his shoulders, his Groucho Marx eyebrows dark and bushy. Sit, he says. It's a command now, not an invitation. The chairs have deep seats meant for a tall person. If I were to sit back properly, my knees wouldn't bend and I'd be reduced to looking like a child. Instead, I perch on the end of one chair, squeeze my hands together in my lap, and wait for what will come next. So, he says, leaning forward across the desk, a sneer on his lips, all pretense of admiration gone. You know why you're here? My stomach is roiling, and I can feel my heart banging around in my chest like a caged thing. Keeping my voice calm, I go for an imperious tone when I speak. Actually, I say, no. What am I doing here?
Okay, and our finisher is Susan Fisher.
I awake in a very narrow bed. The top sheet is tightly tucked in all around. It is almost impossible to move. A woman in purple scrub lays a taped paper packet atop a utility towel on a bedside rolling table. She gingerly opens and arranges it, then speaks. Your doctor will be in momentarily. Out the door she goes, and I am left to contemplate my near future. Soon I hear knock, knock, not actual knocks, but someone using onomatopoeia. In comes Groucho, this time in a white coat that hides his dandruff. Hello, Mariah, are you ready? I certainly am not. I demand an explanation of who you are, exactly where I am, and what you were planning to do. Now, no need to be snippy. I am the one who gets to snip. The vestigial sixth toe on each foot. When I'm done, your feet will be as lovely as a foot model's. There will be nothing freakish about you. I curse my parents under my breath. Why should they care? His silky voice drones on while he prepares a syringe of anesthesia. I focus on the surgical instruments of the open packet, now beautifully aligned along the sterile interior of the wrapping. With every bit of strength I possess, I will myself to obtain the shiny scalpel on the far right. The confining sheet pops free. I lunge and grab. Honeys, I'm home, I sing out as I enter the drawing room of my parents' house, with its creamy ecru decor and well-lit art. We didn't expect you to be home for a week, my father says casually, before he looks up at the smeared state of my bedsheet toga, forearms, hands, and bare feet. My embarrassing feet are still intact. My mother sits completely still, her eyes open as wide as humanly possible. I couldn't wait, darlings. Ugly things should be eliminated. Isn't that right? I say. I do what I must, glad that it is the servants' night out.
Thank you. So next we have Spam-A-Lot, starter Robin Koski.
Is Jenny Warby in there or not?
My friend Dorinda is a foodie. During our phone convos, words like clarify, deglaze, and temper are intermixed with immersion blender, number 10 grater, and parchment paper. Ingredients are described with reverence for local sourcing and political correctness. I feel like I should tell her how much parchment paper intimidates me, and that in my lexicon, a temper is something to avoid raising. I listen because Dory's a good friend. We're maybe not as close as we were in college. I mean, she's not my bestie anymore, but oh, I'm sorry, did I call her Dory? No, she prefers Rinda now. It goes with Prada, her last name, and possibly her new best friends, Sonia and Delphinia. I'm still listening to her breathy, excited description of their new club. It's a cooking club. We each get 5 mutual ingredients and a bunch of regular ones, but then each of us picks a mystery food to incorporate. The mystery item is the outlier, something each of us has brought, a weird one, a challenge, concealed in a brown bag. We each pick one and go. 15 minutes to devise the recipe and an hour to prep. You should join us. Sounds fun, but how are we all supposed to cook in the same kitchen at the same time? And don't you get enough time in the kitchen as it is? Brenda has 2 children, an awesome kitchen, in an awesome McMansion in the hills above my flatland digs, and even an even more awesome husband, Dr. Prada. Yep, she married Dr. Prada. We spent a long moment with him in the emergency room centered around an incident between Rinda and me back in the day. Hassan Prada is a gentle soul and loaded. He's good for Rinda. And he was really sweet about the EpiPen. I mean, he understood how I could mistake it for a magic marker. Boy, Rinda really swelled up though. Looked like a roasted marshmallow. Rinda sighs. Our chef does the cooking here, even the school lunches. All I get to do is suggest genres. And Delphenia has turned her kitchen into a showroom for designer jewelry seconds. She's got the whole room surrounded with glass cases lit from behind, remote control dimmers. It's spectacular. Her meals are delivered by DoorDash and Amazon. I'm wondering how eco-friendly this Delphinia is with her extra AH. Sonia's kitchen is huge though, Rinda gushes. 3 ovens, gadgets galore, extra sinks, glass front refrigerators, granite countertops and floors, everything we need. And I think environmentally conscious Sonia has single-handedly stripped a granite mine. Okay, count me in, I say, looking around my retro kitchen with confetti formica, salivating over the thought of cooking club leftovers. When I hang up, I peer into my 2-shelf pantry, searching for my rando ingredient. Cookie sprinkles, anchovies, sweet tofu rice wraps, Spam?
Okay, and our finisher is Barbara Lee. Barbara, are you with us? Okay, it sounds like not. I didn't see her, so I pulled up her piece and I'm gonna try and read this for you. Spam has a humbling effect on me, reminds me of the lean times of my childhood. In fact, this can of Spam is from my mother. She gifted it to me when I moved out of her house and moved into an apartment with my brand new 18-year-old husband. That was 59 years ago. Claire had 4 kids, 3 girls and a boy. She gave birth to her first daughter when she was 14 years old. That was me. My grandfather, Irvin Gates, whom I believe I never met, made sure my mother married the father of his 13-year-old's child, the 6th of his 10 daughters, known in the Mission District of San Francisco as the Gates girls. Claire and 2 younger sisters had been in an institution. It might have been an orphanage, even though they had a father, but he had taken a wife that hated his kids. All the girls were good looking, but Claire was naive and fell for the first guy she ever met. He turned out to be my father. He went away to WW2 like every other guy in 1943. They divorced, but I was passed around among my mother's oldest sisters until I went into a TB sanitarium, along with 2 other girl cousins, only to emerge and find myself looking for my mother in Tubbsville, California. By then, I was 8. I found her. She had remarried, a nice guy named Ray. They already had my sister Susie when I showed up wearing a cowboy shirt and jeans. Before I knew it, Susie was into everything that meant anything to me. Claire taught me the ways of Spam, on biscuits, with pancakes, with scrambled eggs, with cheese and scrambled eggs, Spam sandwiches, always white bread. She was good with Spam. I pick up the ancient can of Spam, which still comes in the same squat blue tin, and I go back to a place and time called the 1950s. I know Spam, and I know retro. Okay, so next we have The Awakening, and starter is Elizabeth Kirkpatrick. Is she with us?
I don't think so.
Oh dear. So hopefully our finisher can read the beginning and the end.
Yes, I have both. And I knew it was her poem. I just so familiar.
Excuse me, I'm going to have to.
I've been familiar with her writing now. So yeah, okay. That was great. So The Awakening. Be careful of the teeth, my brothers warned. Shine the light in each hole and yell as loud as you can. That will scare them into your gunny sack. I creep forward through the damp mustard and rattlesnake grass in the field across from our house, searching for the telltale mound of dirt where these creatures live. It has been more than a week that I have waited for the dark of the new moon, the only time they would appear. I know exactly how I will spend the silver dollar I have been promised when I catch one. Send for the Captain Midnight secret decoder ring I read about in my latest comic book. My Gene Autry flashlight lights up the dry grass, upending crickets and spiders, giving me courage. For I want to be like my brothers. I want to show them that I am not just a little sister, but like them can throw rocks, swim in the creek, and even shoot Daddy's gun if they will let me. Shivering, I hear the shrill whine of cars in the distance, see the clouds hooked on the sky on a cold-blooded moon, and smell the pungent smoke from our chimney. I stop breathing. My body steels up. Do I hear a rustle in the grass? There, a head in a hole. I hold my sack over the mound, yell as loud as I can, and hear my echo down our empty street. At last, I will see a snipe. That was Elizabeth. Be careful of the teeth, my brothers warned. Under the bare smile of the slivered moon of my flashlight, I gently open the sack, stare into her vertical eyes, blacker than a universe without stars. In that moment, the noise of the world is sucked into that dark, vast universe. As a cascading calm flows through my body, there is a glint of recognition in the flick of her tongue and the power of her potential bite. I lightly toss the sack back over the mound and watch as she gracefully slithers back home. I turn towards the smell of smoke, the dry fields crunching under my feet. No longer following my brothers, I look up at the infinite cosmos and begin to decode the mysteries of life.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And our last piece is called What's in a Name? Starter is Doug Fortier.
Okay. Annie owned 2 Irish setters when she met Wayne. He had a black cat who'd never been fixed, much like Wayne. 37 years later, the pets were memories, and their love of cats and dogs continued. Along the way, they acquired 2 sets of calico sisters who lived long lives. One cat remained, named by the dog Chase the cat. After years with multiple cats and thinking the old cat wouldn't be around much more, the couple learned of a woman seeking homes for feral kittens she trapped around Noyo Harbor. There weren't 2 calico sisters, so they chose a long-haired calico and a tortoiseshell of black, gold, and orange. Chase kept the new kittens, Cleo and Godot, towing the line into adulthood. The dog door set up for the long resident Springer Spaniels became the young cat's access to the world of lawns, gardens, and trees. The neighbors reported sightings of Godot extending her territory in all directions, sunning herself on the warm macadam of a driveway, running into culverts to hide, and hunting birds in the empty lot across the way. On a Sunday night in January, when occasional rains came in from the ocean, Godot didn't push through the dog door for her supper. This wasn't a first. She'd gone missing for several days on numerous occasions. No worries. When Annie took the Springers, Jamie and Jilly, into the yard the next day to play fetch, Godot meowed from beyond the fence, up in redwoods that had grown in a fairy ring around an old stump. She couldn't be seen, but returned a cry when Annie called her name. "She'll come down when she's hungry," Annie said. That's what cats do. And has anyone seen a cat skeleton in a tree? The days passed with Godot on a curving shelf of branches covered in redwood needles. Wayne brought the aluminum extension ladder and positioned it to reach the branches, about 30 feet from the ground. Each morning and afternoon, Annie and Wayne took turns climbing the shaky ladder while wondering if a misstep would put them in the hospital. So I looked up and they couldn't coax Godot close enough to take her by the scruff of the neck and bring her down. On Wednesday, Wayne became alarmed by information on the internet about a cat's need for water and the potential for kidney damage. "Don't worry," Annie said. "She's probably getting enough from licking her coat after it rains." Wayne lost sleep each night while thinking about the cold and wet cat unable to back down the crumbling redwood bark. He chastised himself for not being imaginative enough to figure out a way to save Godot. They waited. On Thursday, Wayne drove toward their house. By the side of the road lay a long bread loaf shape in the colors of black, gold, and orange. No, 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 poor Godot, he cried. It didn't move. It wouldn't be moving. When he examined it, Wayne found a lump of grass and dirt, the result of a neighbor's effort to channel water from the road.
And our finisher is Grob Hawthorne.
Yeah, let's see how I can follow that up, Doug. Once again, Thursday night, he lost sleep. As he tossed and turned in bed that night, Wayne played scenario after scenario in his head regarding the cat in the tree. All of them led to Godot's demise. There was the one where the mountain lions went up the tree for a light snack, the one where lightning struck the tree, and there was the one where Wayne and Annie became the first people to actually find a cat skeleton lodged nicely between two branches. Friday morning was the last straw. The worry he'd felt was causing him stress, and the sleepless nights were wearing him to exhaustion. That morning, Wayne went to the freezer and pulled out 2 rainbow trout he'd caught. He thawed them in the warm water and cut them into slices. Then he laid them on, then he laid the slices of fish onto a plate and took one of the deck chairs out to position himself beneath the tree. At first he couldn't see her, but she was up there, and Godot mewed down to Wayne in recognition. He dangled the plate of treats into the air, hoping she'd climb down for a delicious meal, but no, she wasn't budging. Wayne planted the chair firmly in the ground, and he waited. 1 hour went by, then 2. By the 3rd hour, Annie made sandwiches and took them outside in case he was hungry. But Wayne had fallen fast asleep with the plate of trout on the ground next to him. The plate puzzled Annie, though. She was sure he'd cut up both fish, yet the plate had little less than 1 fish on it. She thought about waking him, but decided to go inside and have a stakeout of her own. In no less than 15 minutes, Annie heard the mewing coming from the tree. She looked through the kitchen window and saw Godot scampering down the trunk. Her first instinct was to shout to Wayne, who was still sleeping. Instead, she watched quietly as the cat delicately picked up a piece of rainbow trout with her teeth and climbed the tree once more. Annie laughed. She saw that Wayne was stirring, and rather than telling him what she'd witnessed, she called Jim down the road. "Hey, where's my cat bait?" Wayne scanned around the deck chair for the missing rainbow trout, but looked up when he heard Annie and the neighbor talking by the fence. He waved Jim, and Jim waved back. The neighbor vanished for a moment and returned with the rumbling of a motorized lift. Jim drove over the terrain, the lift tumbling and tilting precariously, stopping at the tree where Godot had made her home. Wayne and Annie both watched nervously, but Wayne was petrified. He was sure that their discovery would be an upsetting one. There was a loud mechanical hydraulic sound as the lift rose into the branches. Jim stopped it and moved a few inches to the left, then a few inches to the right, and rose it some more. The lift stopped, and Wayne, anxious but still, held his hand to his mouth. He mumbled under his breath about how he knew it wasn't going to end well. Maybe she's stuck or she's hurt, but she can't come down, that poor thing. Then Godot mewed again. Jim reached from the lift bucket and grabbed the cat. He had something else in his hands too, which puzzled even Annie, who was already aware that the cat was perfectly fine. The lift dropped slowly, and when he stepped off of it, Jim was holding one annoyed Godot and a nest with 3 little hatchlings surrounded by bits of trout. Everyone took a few minutes to fuss over the cat and fuss over the baby birds, and they came to the conclusion that Godot had killed the mother, and then, discovering the children she'd left behind, chose to be their guardian. Of course, she'd been up there and down the tree many times since finding the babies, but was so secretive that Wayne and Annie hadn't noticed. Wayne held the cat, happy to have her back, and declared, "Next time we get a pet, we choose a name more wisely. All this waiting for Godot nearly killed me."
think everybody's, no,
That was great.
Yay.
yes.
Rob.
So, again, thank you all for attending. Don't forget to send in your check, P.O. Box 762 for the $45. And we hope to see you August 16th for a 3 p.m. meeting. And don't forget to register.
Excellent.
Yep.
I have one question.
Oh, question? Go for it.
Are you going to send us all this information online?
Yes.
Yes.
Don't worry.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Take care.
Good
See everybody
job.
later.
Thanks, Doug. Thanks,
Karen, I'll be in touch.
Thanks, everyone.
Okay.
Everybody. Bye-bye.
Good job.
Stay well. Everyone stay